Manchester City defeat Arsenal 2-0 in the EFL Cup Final. Deserved winners. There's absolutely no complaints about that result whatsoever. An unusually poor showing from Arsenal, quite possibly the poorest game of the season of performance, or at least the second half was in terms of that 45 minutes. Arsenal deserved to lose this. We were nowhere near it, really. This is a post-match reaction podcast, and it's not a great feeling right now. However, in the grand scheme of things, it's still relatively okay. So let's get into it. This is the Real Arsenal Deal podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Real Arsenal Deal. Rav here, as always, your host. How is everyone today? This morning, I'm recording this first thing Monday morning here, Australian time. It was a 3:30 a.m. kickoff, and look, these early Monday morning kickoffs do take a toll, especially when you do it as consistently as I do. And you're reaching that age, I guess, in life. The mid-40s I am now. And I feel like I'm aging almost every week now with Arsenal this season. But look, it wasn't a great performance from Arsenal. I mean, I would do all this stuff happily over 10 times again if Arsenal win. And when Arsenal do win, I don't even think about it. I don't even think about the lack of sleep or the early starts and when the next kickoff time is, the crazy time zone differences sometimes. I don't even think about it because it propels you. It gives you a great spring in your step throughout the day. I get to really ride that wave and share it with my sons as well as you move through your daily life. But every now and then you get stung like this one. And look, this is, I guess I get this out of the way first. This is not the end of the world. It's not a deal breaker. I think whichever result happened today in this final, the headlines would have been about Arsenal. Either way, like if Arsenal ended up winning this one, it would have been about that trophy drought, that 6-year trophy drought finally lifted. And finally, the players have a taste of success. They've got some medals in their pockets, as that quote from Saliba said. They get to lift a trophy. It's a great day out for the fans at Wembley because, of course, that FA Cup victory was during COVID times. It was played behind closed doors, basically. So the headlines would have been around that. And then can Arsenal finally use this momentum as a springboard for the remaining few months? We've got 3 other competitions we're in. I think our eyes are on the prize in the Premier League. We're in the driver's seat. And it also would have been about that Arteta and Guardiola narrative that finally, the master versus the apprentice. Even though we've beaten them a couple of times in the league in one-off matches, it's not the same. We haven't defeated them in the Premier League, of course. The City still have a hold over us. And it would have been about finally slaying that dragon, so to speak, that we conquered the dragon. We've lifted that sort of monkey off our backs. We've beaten them when it mattered, and we've got a trophy to show for it. And now let's put that into our trophy cabinet, into the collection, and onwards we go for the remaining few months. So that would have been one story. And that would have been the ideal story, by the way. Unfortunately, now what we have to prepare ourselves for, and it's probably already happening, full disclaimer, I don't really venture off into other social media places or look at YouTube and, sort of delve into like Sky narratives and whatnot. I can just guarantee you they're having a field day. But the people who have the knives sharpened for Arsenal, they're always ready. They're always waiting in the shadows, just waiting to chime in and pile on. And I'm sure that's happening in the usual places. TalkSport, all these sorts of places have a field day with engagement and clicks and likes and all that sort of stuff, attention. So unfortunately, the second narrative is now what we're faced with, especially with our next game being a couple of weeks away. It's the international break now. Our next game is against Bournemouth at home at the Emirates Stadium. Ironically enough, I was meant to be at. Myself and my family, we were meant to be there. It was a trip of a lifetime for us. We were coming for that weekend, the second leg against Sporting Lisbon, and unfortunately, thanks to the warmongers who seem to rule the world, our flights have been impacted as we're traveling through that region. But look, I don't want to make it all about me. There's a lot of suffering as a consequence of those decisions. So I'm not going to make it about me in the grand scheme of things. Look, I'll continue with my point. Is that with Arsenal not playing again until April 11th against Bournemouth, we are now faced with a couple of weeks of the fallout from this defeat. And the second narrative, the prevailing narrative, unfortunately, is going to be that do Arsenal have what it takes? Here's that mental edge, that fragility. Is it showing itself again? We know Arsenal have long had this soft underbelly that when it really, really matters, when the going gets rough, do the tough get going? Do we have what it takes to actually climb the mountain and we've been close, but close enough, not quite good enough. Second again, ole ole is the chant that that opposition fans dance to, and we're going to have to face that now. We're going to have to bear the brunt of that and channel it and deal with it, deal with the pain, deal with the hurt, and use it to drive ourselves forward. To just sometimes these sorts of moments, these stinging moments, they have to linger, they have to hurt, they have to cut a bit deep. As painful as it is, in the grand scheme of things, though, at least it's in this competition. Does that make sense? I'm not making sense here. Maybe I'm not, because years gone by, when Arsenal have bowed out of competitions or cup competitions, it's all we've really had. There have been times during the latter stages of Arsene Wenger's tenure, a good cup run or pinching an FA Cup. That's kind of all we had, really, because it was around so many other disappointing moments in the league and Champions League, and so many times our season would fall apart in the space of 7 to 10 days. You go bang, 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 bang. You get knocked out of multiple competitions or dismissed, clicked aside when you come up against the big boys in the knockout stages of the Champions League. And a cup run is kind of all we really had. And we knew at the time that it wasn't really enough. It didn't reflect the ambition of where we thought the club would be, especially post Emirates. So I don't want to make a huge point about that, because you all know what I'm referring to, of course. But in years gone by, bowing out of a cup was like, damn, that's the season over. And you start looking at the summer already. You start looking at where are our deficiencies? Who do we sign? What holes do we need to plug? But this is different. At least this is very different. Is that winning the EFL Cup would have been a nice compliment, I think is the best word to describe, a compliment to everything else, because we know that in isolation on its own, just winning the Carabao Cup, that's not going to satisfy our appetite, our hunger, especially how hard Arsenal have worked. And we worked our damn backsides off to be in this position, by the way. Driver's seat of the Premier League, Champions League quarterfinal. We earned the right to have the draw that we did. Like, when you win 8 from 8, you make your own luck, is the saying as well. So I don't have any embarrassment at all looking at the pathway at all, as I'm sure opposition fans have plenty to say about that. But in the grand scheme of things, going out now, it's not the end of the world. It's not. At least we have the ability now to channel this hurt into what we do next. And what we do next is where legacies are written. These remaining few months, this is the time now. This is absolutely the time for the greats to stand up, write their chapters into Arsenal history books. We know the names I'm looking at. Looking at Saka, Declan Rice, Gabriel, Saliba. Saliba was excellent today, by the way. He was one of the few who can really hold their head up high after a pretty insipid performance overall. But that's the narrative now we're going to have to deal with, is that, do Arsenal have what it takes? Look at this. Manchester City's still got their number, right? Good old Pep, he's still the master. He still knows how to negate Arsenal. They've still got the big game players, Rodri, Bernardo Silva. How did Bernardo Silva stay on the pitch again, by the way? Like, how many times can he just go in unchecked, unchallenged, and just do what he wants? He's been doing that for years and years, and just gets it's incredible how many cheap shots he's allowed to have. Anyway, I keep sort of going off on tangents, don't I? So I'll stick to the point I'm trying to make, is that this is the narrative now. We have to brace ourselves now, because that's what's happening, and that's what's going to come over these next few weeks. I'm sure Arteta fielded a lot of questions around it as well, post-match, and the players will in the next couple of weeks during this international break. And the question marks are going to be around, like, is this going to be the thing? Is this going to be the catalyst for Manchester City now? As poor as they've been recently, very poor against Real Madrid. They've had some very poor drop points against, West Ham, Forest. They're still not the Manchester City of old. They're not, especially their league form. We still got this. The pathway is there. We've just got to see this through now, the remaining 7 games of the Premier League. And I still believe we're going to win the Premier League. However, just, you can't help but just wonder, like, what kind of the performance, like today, the performance itself. If you play out of your skin and you get pipped, it's one thing, because then the best team on the day wins it. But from an Arsenal point of view, you just can't help having that lingering feeling that, just like, what was that? Where did that come from? Quite possibly our worst performance of the season. Why? Why did that happen? Where were the players who we know they're capable of so much more? Like, how come they didn't step up? And you just can't help but wonder what that lingering feeling, that sentiment, that sour taste in the mouth is going to do on both sides of the fence, for City and for Arsenal. So thank you for putting up with all that. That was look, this podcast is form of self-therapy as well for me, right? I think you have to be wired a certain way to do solo podcasting as frequently as I do, and just basically I'm just staring at myself in the camera, talking to myself. At least it helps me compartmentalize and process my thoughts live as well. And I hope it's of some value to you who choose to listen. So thank you for all my loyal listeners who continue to listen to me rambling on. So usually what I would do is I would have a bit of a structure. I would talk about selection, first half, second half, tactics, substitutions. That's all thrown a little bit out the window in a match like this, because it's more about just the after effects now, and the aftershocks. How do we pick ourselves up and go again? I've got no doubt we will. I've got no doubt that some of the things Arteta saw today would absolutely infuriate him. By the way, speaking of which, that clip of Cherky doing that, I think they call it keepy uppy, when he's kicking the ball up to himself, that was a humiliation. That was, I saw Guardiola's reaction to it as well. He was shaking his head. I think he knew that was just disrespectful, and he disrespected Arsenal. But look, winners are grinners. I got nothing personal to say. I don't go in on individuals like that on this podcast. I'm just sort of calling it like it is. If you ever wanted some fuel, if you ever wanted something to go up on Arteta's whiteboard to show the players repeatedly, you remember that clip in the Amazon documentary, how he put that Ivan Toney tweet in his back pocket and just pulled it out when he best needed to channel the reaction and the performance from the players. If I'd be stunned if that clip doesn't get circulated a lot around Arsenal in the next few months. He humiliated Arsenal with that. And White, understandably, one of the most understandable yellow cards I've seen in quite some time. You have to react. And look, nice to see a reaction as well from White. There weren't too many others really who were, I guess, up for that sort of battle, so to speak. But yeah, he took the piss out of Arsenal. He really did. Hope I'm allowed to say that. I don't know if that's a swear filter word or not, but he absolutely ridiculed Arsenal in that moment. And yeah, you if you're not stung by that as an Arsenal footballer, then I'm not sure Arteta's the right manager for you. And yeah, I'd be, especially in the run-in, in the lead up to that April 19th match against City away at the Etihad. I think we're going to hear more about that. By the way, just quietly, just keep an eye on that one, and I'll talk about that another time. But in terms of our selection, look, the biggest decision was in goal. Kepa, I fully expected to play, even though when you get to this stage, you play your best team. I remember this same conversation happening in 2007, 2008, that amazing cup run with Wenger's youth team. There's some fantastic young players in that team as well. It was a shame that and not many of them ended up going on to have an excellent senior career at Arsenal. I know they did elsewhere. You get to that point of the final, and it was men versus boys. Didier Drogba he ragdolled Arsenal that day, and we were never really near it. So I'm not saying it was the right or wrong thing to do at the time. As we know, Wenger was a man of his principles, and he wanted to reward those players who got to that stage of the competition. Perhaps Arteta is of similar ilk, but to be fair, so was Guardiola. He didn't play Donnarumma in this. Donnarumma has the edge over Arsenal mentally as well, right? So he would have had every excuse to play Donnarumma in this, but he didn't. And he named Trafford a few days ago. Arteta kept it close to his chest, but I fully expected it would be Kepa. And look, in isolation, I think that's fine. That's totally fine. In this competition, you got to keep players engaged and whatnot. Unfortunately, though, in doing that, I kind of had this sick feeling that in some shape or form, one of the narratives to fallout from this match is going to be the performance of the two deputy goalkeepers. And in that respect, full credit to Trafford. That triple save, yeah, I had a feeling that was going to hurt, because Arsenal were well on top early in those opening 10 minutes or so. We worked our way in very, very nicely, by the way. We were playing long balls over the top. Perez was really throwing his weight around. There was space, there were gaps to exploit, and it seemed an intentional tactic to get behind City. As the game went on, as opportunities became far more fleeting, we just started hoofing the ball up forward, just in hope more than anything, and just turning the ball over very meekly as well, by the way. So we worked our way in. It was Havertz who got the first shot, and then Saka twice on the rebound. Look, they were excellent reaction stops, flex stops, when the goalkeepers closed down the angle and they hit sort of straight at him. But you can't help but wonder, could we have lifted the ball over him because he was low? Could we have gone over? Anyway, it is what it is. We microanalyze every single moment like this. But unfortunately for Arsenal, what we didn't do against, as opposed to what we did against Leverkusen, is that when we'd have an excellent passage of play and we'd have a shot saved or multiple shots saved, you go again. You dust yourself off and say, okay, on to the next one, on to the next one. We didn't really have anything to show for it. In fact, at the time of recording, someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't really recall too many other shots on target otherwise until later on in the second half. Calafiori came on and he changed the dynamics from an attacking point of view. And when your fullback is probably your best outlet towards goal, your left back, you got to really ask questions about our tactical setup and our attacking intent. It's not a great reflection, is it? Calafiori, he headed one, I think was saved by, I was thinking straight at Trafford. Then he flashed across goal. Trossard almost got a boot to it, and it went out for a goal kick. And look, aside from that opening flurry, the triple save, we didn't really do much else to trouble Trafford. At the other end, unfortunately, Kepa had a few moments in that second half. Before the goals, he had that moment. He came out to challenge Doku. Thankfully, he didn't bring him down because, then the referee's got a decision to make. And the referee, as we've seen throughout this entire match, major decisions that he's going to make. Is he going to be in favour of Manchester City? I have to mention this right now, as much as it does my head in talking about referees. He was quite under par today. Most 50-50s, in fact, all 50-50s were really going in the favour of City. The yellow card to Hincapié, I don't think it was there. I really don't, especially when you look at how many free passes Silva got against Arsenal with no card. It's bizarre. And that yellow card to Hincapié, it seemed to change the whole dynamics. It really inhibited Arsenal. I think it's had a disproportional impact on the match, the way we played. We've gone really, really into ourselves. We played very cautiously. They had a lot of joy on that right-hand side because Hincapié was, understandably, he didn't want to get sent off. And this is sometimes where I feel our naiveness. Is that a word? We are sometimes naive the other way. When we get a fullback on a yellow card or whatever, we don't really overload the area. I don't know the last time when we've really taken full advantage of that. The City, using all of their all of their experience, all of their knowledge, they sensed that the change in the game in that, and they overloaded that area. And Semenyo is an excellent player. Boy, how I would have loved him at Arsenal. But by the way, he's an outstanding player, and he was excellent today. And look, full credit to Hincapié. He didn't hide as much as he had to be cautious and play within himself. He knew the bigger picture of how damaging a red card would have been in this match. And we've had enough about that, by the way, red cards against City. He was affected by it, and we couldn't really adjust accordingly. So, and little by little, City really worked themselves into that half. I thought we were excellent for the opening, but there was a spell right before half-time where City were right on top. They were getting repeated possession, recycling the ball, getting in, putting crosses in, and Arsenal, we just couldn't get out. City's press absolutely choked Arsenal. The way they set up, there was no outball for us. And you have Gyökeres there, you have Havertz, who are usually an excellent outlet to be able to find and just duel and win a second ball or purchase a foul and give ourselves some breathing room. But they couldn't. And that's largely due to City, yes, but also from an Arsenal point of view, we panicked when we did get the ball and we would nip it off them. The pass was just shocking. We would just give it straight back, or we'd struggle to find a man. We'd struggle to control the ball. The technical quality was not there. And you could say everything about Odegaard not being here. Eze missing this one is a real shame. Timber as well is injured. It's very unfortunate. Mikel Merino would have been fantastic in this game as well, by the way. Out of nowhere, you have three central midfielders who are just not even in the squad, unfortunately. And that's really, really damaging for Arsenal. We're asking a lot of Kai Havertz, who's recovering from two significant surgeries, right, to really sort of, fly the flag in that position. And Gyökeres, as we know, it's not his game to be that technical outlet. It's just it just wasn't favourable, those circumstances for Arsenal. But still, the players on the pitch are good enough to be able to find passes and string together some possession, string 2, 3 multiple passes together, get that rhythm going and start recycling the balls ourselves. And instead, we'll just give it up. We'll just give it away. Like literally, it's just simple passes or just hoof it down the line. And City were just in total control. They were in command and they knew it. Pep knew it. They would just have all the time in the world, it seems. Whereas from us, we seemed rushed, we seemed panicked. When Kepa had the ball, this is the other thing. I don't want to go too hard in on Kepa because it's not just about spilling that ball, which Raya absolutely would have gobbled up. By the way, Raya would have absolutely caught that. What can you do? But it was also the attacking aspects of David Raya that is very much underappreciated. You only really notice it. You notice it more. It becomes more glaring when you see what you're missing. That the way Raya is an attacking outlet for us as well. He catches the ball, and in one swift movement, he's off. He looks up, he's throwing, he's passing, his distribution. It's outstanding. He's absolutely elite. He's a breath of fresh air, David Raya, and he will get his accolades if/when Arsenal go on to win the Premier League. But unfortunately, wasn't just it wasn't just the shot stopping and the catching, the clean catching that we were missing today with Kepa. It was the distribution. He's not that kind of goalkeeper, and that's okay. Like not every goalkeeper is from that modern day skillful, high possession, high touch goalkeeper at their feet style level, right? It's just not. They're rare now. But we lacked that. Too much time City had to reset their shape and press, and we would just amble our way out and be choked up in their press again, and it was just rinse and repeat. That second half was just look. This is probably the best summary I have of that second half. After City scored their second goal, I actually knew it was done. This may not make much sense because there's still 25, 30 minutes to go. We've got attacking subs on the bench. We maybe got Dowman. You can pinch a goal, get an equaliser, and go to extra time or penalties. But I never felt that. Rewind the clock 1 week against Everton, where I just felt the mood was different. The energy was different. The energy transmitted from Arteta, the players, was different. 75, 80, 85 minutes on the clock. I just knew it was coming. I couldn't have predicted how the goals would be scored, of course. No one could have predicted that Dowman moment in the closing seconds, one of the great moments in the Emirates era. But I sensed that Arsenal would find a way through and win it. I just sensed it. This time, though, I almost knew the game was done after 64 minutes, and that was sad in a way because everything you saw up until that point showed that Arsenal are not getting back into this. We just don't have the technical quality or the players willing to step up and be counted and take the game by the scruff of the neck when it mattered. So I just knew that City were in command, and if there's one team you don't want to just have this sort of commanding position and be able to just to string 300,000 passes together, it's Manchester City. They invented this. This is the master at that type of game, killing the game off, going bang, bang. When they're on top, the 2 goals in 4 minutes, win the match in that spell and just cruise from there. This is their game. And we played right into their hands. We fell for it. We placed ourselves in their lap on a platter. And that's what stings, because the Arsenal of 2, 3, 4 years ago, that's what we were kind of seeing. We were seeing that we come up against the real big boys, and we're like, and you see that gap, you say to yourselves, that's how you do it. That's how you know how to win games of football. And we're very good at that, by the way. We wouldn't be as well placed as we are in all competitions if we weren't. But in a match of this stature, with a couple of years extra experience and hard gained experience too, the likes of Bryce, Gabriel, these guys who have been through so much, rebuilt us, right, and brought us back to the precipice of glory, you kind of expected more. And sadly, it wasn't there. And the question marks will be why. The also question marks will be around the goals itself. Saka is going to come under a lot of fire. I have a very personal protective element with him. I think we all do. Maybe all of us is in a certain age as dads ourselves. We watch Saka come in as a young man, 17, 18-year-old, and we have that protective element. But he has not been great lately, it's fair to say. And he lost his man for the second goal. You saw his reaction, head straight into his hands. And it's moments like that where it's really, really disappointing. It's really disappointing because at the other end, you're not having the output either. There's still plenty of time, by the way, with 7 league games to go, at minimum 2 more Champions League matches to go, at minimum 1 more FA Cup game to go. So what's that? So there's at minimum 10 games. Maximum, if we extend ourselves and we go a couple, I think there'll be 3 more FA Cup matches. Sorry, pardon me, I'll correct that. There'll be a semi-final and then a final, so that's 2 more, 3 more in the Champions League. If you potentially, I'm saying potentially. So at minimum, there's 10 matches to go this season, maximum 15. And now is the time. There's still plenty of time for Arsenal players to write their legacy, such as Saka. And if you're gonna do it, now would be the time to start that run. But look, anyway, I've ambled my way through this recording as much as like Arsenal ambled their way through the match. So I'm going to bring it to a close. Sorry for being so downbeat. If you've listened this far, I thank you. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know how you're doing. Did I make sense? Didn't I? And pull me up if I've been too doom and gloom. But I'll just finish with this. There's still great potential for wonderful glory for Arsenal. In the grand scheme of things, if we go on to lift the Premier League, are we going to care about this? Did Liverpool care this time last season when they lost to Newcastle and they end up winning the league? They probably don't, wouldn't even think about it. If we go on to win 2 of the 3 remaining trophies or all 3 a treble, are we even going to think about it? And probably not. Not at all. Right now it hurts. And the question is, how are we going to use this? You cannot collapse now. You cannot absolutely, you do not work as hard as we have to get to this point and let this derail us. It should be the other way. We need to use this as fuel to propel ourselves. And that's what I'm hoping we see. So look, I'll sign off now. Look after yourselves, everyone. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on audio platforms, please follow the show. Leave me a 5-star review. Leave me any comments or feedback. They're most welcome. And look after yourselves, everyone. It'll be okay. All right. I'll sign off there. Check in with your loved ones. Thank you again. Come on, Arsenal.